What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Goodol'boys channel. Today I have a very simple quick video for you guys. We're going to be replacing the front brake and clutch lever, and we're also going to be replacing the shifter. So first of all, the reasons why I'm replacing the clutch brake and shifter. So to begin with, here we have the brake side. This got broken off when my buddy was hitting a hill climb. Lay her down, son! Lay her down! Oh!
That's the idea.
So obviously that's not how you're supposed to do it. Let me show you guys a clip of how it's supposed to look. Moving on to the shifter here. So this thing has actually been bent many times, which is not an issue. I actually really like the fact that it's steel and that you can weld it together if you want to. You can see where the paint's missing, and you can see where the weld is starting to crack from all the times that this thing has been bent. Yeah, it's time to get it replaced, and this will be a backup shifter. So I guess I may as well tell you guys a little bit about the new shifter here. You can see the new shifter is just a tad slight bit shorter. This shifter actually folds back if you happen to run into something, which is a feature that the Hawk really needs because the controls and levers and pegs stick out way too far on each side, and when you're going into a sharp corner, the pegs will drag the ground in the dirt. You really need a flexible shifter end like this. The shifter, I paid $11 for this shifter. I know a lot of people were going for the steel IMS shifter. I actually don't really like that shifter. I think if you wreck, you want the shifter to actually break off the bike before it breaks the bike itself. I went with a cheapy aluminum one, and like I said, I always have a backup if I need. If you guys are interested in the lever shifters, they'll be linked in the description box below. So before you guys run to the description box below, there's some really important information that you need to know about the levers in the shifter. They don't just bolt onto the bike. They are a simple install, but there's some important information that you guys need to know and understand before you buy these levers and shifter. Here's kind of the information on the shifter here, since we're moving on to the shifter. So it fits a CRF 50 or XR 50. Okay, so there's a few tricks to the shifter here. It comes with this original bolt, which is really nice, stainless steel bolt. So you want to actually take that out. You're not going to be using that. Alrighty, guys, so the whole reason you're not going to be using that original bolt is because it's got an Allen head on it. You cannot get an Allen wrench between the frame and the bottom of the shifter here, because the bolt actually installs from the bottom up. So I needed to add in here, yes, technically you could probably find some way to cheat the bolt into the shifter, the original Allen head bolt, but there's many reasons why you're not going to want to do that. What you're going to need is actually a longer bolt. Now, your bolt doesn't need to be this long. This is just what I had laying around, but basically, if you had a bolt that was flush with the other side of the shifter here, you would be perfectly fine. So all we're going to do here to put the shifter on is grease these splines, because these splines can rust and they can go bad. The main point here is that you don't want your shifter to ever be loose, because your shifter can still be on here and be partially loose. So you don't want that, obviously. All right, now what we want to do is put the shifter on, make sure we can shift fully up. Okay, looks like we can, so that's the position I want it in. Now, I'm going to slip my bolt in here, which actually we need to put some grease on here first. I always grease everything, and this bolt has to go in here particularly tight because, like I said, I would rather sacrifice the shifter itself than the splines. If you mess these splines up, you're looking at having to split the entire engine to get a new shifter put on there. Okay, now this is the time to adjust your shifter. I want mine as far out as possible. You guys might not have noticed, but the shifter tucks up under there, which in my opinion, I actually like that because Like I said, the controls on the Hawk are actually way too wide. To be honest with you guys, I can shift this thing just fine with the shifter even halfway under the case there. Okay, so the last thing to do here now, of course, is tighten this the rest of the way down. You want to make sure that this gets put on there nice and tight, because if you don't, you'll ruin the splines that go into your engine. Okay, so I'm going to say that's good and tight enough, and I'll let you guys know how this shifter feels here in a couple 100 miles or something. Same thing with the levers. Alrighty guys, so like I said, you can actually get a bolt that's a lot shorter so you don't see all these threads sticking out, but I did want to show you a little trick that you can do also if you do have extra threads sticking out. So you can actually put a nut on here, and what this is going to do is actually kind of lock your bolt into place as well. This will never actually come loose, or at least it gives it the best chance of not coming loose. You don't want to strip the splines on this shaft that goes into the engine. I did do some testing for you guys, not only in flip-flops but in big boots, so arguably this shifter will work for a lot of people. So overall, I really like the shifter. I don't see any real issues with it. It's been holding up really well. I have 300 hard miles on it now. You can see that it's wearing down a little bit from all the sand and grit and shifting. So it's been tested thoroughly, and I'll let you guys know if I end up having any issues with the shifter. So we'll talk about the clutch and brake lever here. So guys, I bought these for $15. So there's a couple positives, one being price, two, the brake lever kind of fits right on there. Three, these are just like the ASV breakaway levers. All right, so the negatives, the clutch isn't really going to work for you unless you're in some kind of emergency situation. You have to run the clutch on the outside of the control box. It puts the controls far away from your thumb, and this is not going to route the cable the correct direction. The brake lever here, the issues with it are that it just misses the brake switch. Okay, issue number two, you can see that this lever kind of misses the piston. Well, it doesn't miss it, but it rides kind of on the side of the piston. So after a while or a long ways down the road, you may start to see some issues with your reservoir here and the piston. That's something to think about. Another issue, these levers have been falling apart since I've got them, and I don't care if you buy the fancy expensive ones or these cheap $15 ones, they all fall apart. Now the expensive ones, sure, they might last a little while longer, but I've seen plenty of times where the spring breaks, your lever's hanging out here and it's never there when you need it, so that's kind of annoying. Also, the hardware likes to fall out at this pivot point. So yeah, these levers are just not reliable, and in all honesty, I wouldn't really recommend them, but I'll leave you guys a link in the description box below if you would like. So these levers are great because they do this kind of thing, and what that does is avoid breaking off when you're sliding down a hill backwards if you're hill climbing. So if all you're doing with the Hawk is hill climbing, sure, maybe get these levers, but I would really honestly recommend a standard lever. So I actually found some standard levers. These fit a Honda Grom or a CBR 250R, and they also apparently fit the Hawk. So the whole reason I really like the standard levers is because they're a lot simpler than these. They're a lot more reliable, and if you cut them off like I have it set up here, you almost never break this lever. In fact, this is the original lever I've had on this bike for 3,653 miles. I also thought it was worth mentioning here that on China Rider, everybody was getting the adjustable levers for the CBR to put on the Hawk. And to me, it's the same difference as the ASV. I think it's extra parts that are not needed. To me, the one-piece lever is more reliable and it'll give you less headache. So we're on the brake side. All you're gonna do is get a couple 10mm wrenches. Slide it out of there. Brake lever's off. So we slip the new one on there. Already have grease on the bolt. Make sure you grease your bolt. We're on the clutch side. All you need is a 10mm. You undo the bottom nut first. You also should have a lock washer. Next, we want to take the cable off of here before we take this bolt out. So you want to loosen this up. This is your cable adjustment. You're looking to get a straight line all the way across here so your cable can slide through all these holes. Pull your clutch in, pull your cable out this way, and then you can take it out of there just like that. So you need a flathead screwdriver to undo this bolt. And the lever is off. So it's time for the new lever. Once again, if you're installing fresh levers, always grease your bolt. Next, you're going to install the nut and lock washer on the bottom side. Hold your screwdriver on the top while you torque the bottom. Now for the clutch cable, you're going to kind of re-extend it. Pop it up into the new lever. And what I like to do is, see how I did that? I put the edge of the cable on the adjuster, pull this, and then that allows me to pull the cable back, and it just slips right into place. You can see they line up actually perfectly, so it's not going to be any change from stock. Brake lever over here is perfect. Lines up perfect with the piston and reservoir, and also catches the brake switch there. So perfect fit on these levers. I'll leave a link to these simple levers in the description box below as well if you guys want to check these out. I'm going to show you guys how to shorten your lever. So basically you want to get on the bike and treat it like you're riding it. Most motorcycle riders are using 2 fingers. Take our blue paint pen and mark it, write it 2 fingers width wherever your 2 fingers fall. If you want to get comfortable on the bike, and make sure wherever you cut it, you're going to be comfortable. And you want to leave a little extra. Obviously, you want to make sure there's plenty of room for both of your fingers to pull your clutch and brake. So this is what the levers look like. They don't have to be perfect. You just need to get them so that you can pull the clutch and brake lever in without raw dogging your fingers. So this is the setup, guys. I've actually decided to put this more stock-like lever back on here. Like I said, in all honesty, even if those levers were $150, I wouldn't keep them on here. I just don't like them. They're too complicated. And like I said, if you cut these short like this, they'll almost never break. So I got one more tip for everybody. I wanted to show you how I have the tightness adjusted on these clamps. So obviously when you lay this thing over, what happens is something like that. You can see that these are tight, but they're still kind of loose enough to where if the bike falls over, you know, these things will move. So this is basically how you want to set up all your controls, from your control box to the brake lever side, the clutch, everything. And then that way, if you lay it over a wreck or something, the controls just twist rather than braking. So needless to say, I'm very happy with the couple mods I did between the shifter and the brake lever there. That's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Check out that description box below, and we'll catch you guys on next video. Peace.